What's going on, guys? It's Frito here for your Overwatch. In today's video, I want to break down some meta misconceptions because the playstyles of your teammates and the meta you're in at lower ranks is so different than the approach of higher ranked players. Often, characters that are S tier for them are bad for you. So in today's video, we'll discuss some of the biggest contenders for overrated heroes that middle rank or lower rank players should avoid, and what to focus on instead to rank up. Gamers, they lied to you. Junk food isn't required for the gamer diet. Healthy food tastes great when you get some help on knowing what to combine. That's what makes me love today's video sponsor, HelloFresh, so much. HelloFresh delivers you the perfect ingredients with a awesome recipe that's easy to make in 30 minutes or less. Step-by-step instructions. If I can do it, you can do it. Forget the idea that low-cal food has to be boring. HelloFresh has fun recipes like sweet and spicy apricot chicken or cheesy spinach and mushroom stromboli. And as they package the perfect amount of ingredients for you, you can rest assured that there isn't extra waste. In fact, HelloFresh is a carbon neutral company and is going to cut down on your food waste by up to 23% compared to going to your grocery store. And it's more affordable too, up to 72% less expensive than dining at a restaurant or grocery store. Fellow gamers, join me. Fuel up on actual food that tastes great and nourishes your body. To try out HelloFresh and start eating good like me, use our link in the description or check out HelloFresh.com using our promo code POGYOW OCT65 to get 65% off your first box and free shipping. Don't delay, start eating good today. Take our link in the description and try out HelloFresh. I've got a handful of characters to pick out, but one of the easiest to spot that everyone says is a automatic S tier pick is Sojourn. What I feel doesn't get communicated properly when saying this is that Sojourn at the moment is number one when it comes to long range accurate damage dealers. And I would advise, if you were a Masters player aspiring to get to GM, that you might find Sojourn to feel like a must pick in order to match the enemy's Sojourn and how much value she can put out. But I don't think this is the experience for most players and is also probably latent in the player data, which makes Blizzard reluctant to even nerf the hero at all, despite her being obviously oppressive at the highest tiers. I think the truth is, Sojourn is a boom or bust hero, with an ultimate that requires you to go ham hitting even more headshots, and poke damage that isn't by any means free, and you're heavily reliant on hitting consistent headshots on that Zarya enemy to be one of the few things that can burn her down, or to get picks on the enemy squishies. Another thing I want to add about medal ranked gameplay is where players tend to position and what you can expect from your teammates. Sojourn can excel at higher tiers because she has the mobility to get her damage angles to beat players that are even in cover, to reach out and go make a play when one wouldn't have existed based on the positioning of the game normally. In the lower ranks, it's not that complicated because players don't know where the good positions are, and if you take big power positions, a character like Soldier can stand there, not vacate them, and add way more pressure than you will with a Sojourn because Soldier can heal himself where a Sojourn needs to run away. It is for this reason that I think as a lower skilled player, you're going to find that Soldier will go a lot farther for you, and especially he has a free damage ult that you can't miss. All these things stack up to make it a real head scratcher that everyone seems to think they should advise all the player base to play Sojourn when Soldier is a much easier route to the same value when you're climbing through the ranks, with of course a cutoff at the upper tiers where he's going to be a bit lacking. Based on my win rate, I don't even feel like I've struggled against most Sojourn players due to how consistent Soldier's playstyle can be. I may make a separate guide on Soldier, the positions to take, how to work your angles, and just apply more raw stats to team fights. As long as you're doing that, you're doing your job, and for most enemy DPS, they're likely not going to have the skill to outmatch you until you reach some of the higher tiers. Next up is a tank that gets put in the S tier category all the time by content creators, but I want to explain why she is overrated for the vast majority of players. I think D.Va's amazing. D.Va does a lot of things well. She marks Winston, she controls high ground, she's the best peeler of all the tanks. If the enemy's all in diving you with flankers, Defense Matrix is the best response. Counters a lot of the scariest damage threats in the game, can cut down on the enemy spam against you. D.Va does a lot and deserves to be an S tier pick, but I don't think she's an S tier pick for the average player because of where your teammates will position. You see, a character like D.Va, who is flexible to go in and out of the battle, get up and down on high ground, can use Defense Matrix to turn a teammate who's in a good position into an impenetrable position. Defense Matrix from D.Va gets a lot more value the better your team is positioned. But at the lower ranks, they often don't use cover, don't rotate very well, and are so bad at avoiding threat angles that D.Va isn't enough to protect them. D.Va has a much more amplified effect the better that your teammates are setting up crossfires and using cover. But at the lower ranks, you're going to find that a more self-sufficient tank or one that just generally creates cover is going to go a lot farther for you. This is why when Blizzard made that somewhat offensive blog post talking about how Reinhardt has a positive win rate, I understood where they were coming from, because although Reinhardt is really struggling at the GM tier, having a Rein to just stand in front of your team who refuse to use cover and be the cover for them is going to add a massive cover advantage against the enemy. Not to mention, Rein's damage racks up pretty good in close range and will force the enemy off the objective where most metal rank players want to play anyway. It is crucially important that as D.Va, you don't play on the objective, at least not up against a tank that outmatches you, and most tanks do, because D.Va isn't designed to fight most tanks very well besides Winston. She's somewhat even against Orisa, I think, because she can eat the javelin, do a lot of headshot damage, but not like Orisa dies anyway. Zarya's got beam damage to go through her, Ryan's got a shield to help his team. D.Va is not a frontliner, and most teammates at lower ranks expect the tank to just play on the front line anyway, which will be reflected in how they position, but also what they expect from you. And if you don't frontline, often they will, and they'll just feed instead of taking the high ground positions that a D.Va comp is supposed to. Zarya is going to be a great self-sufficient tank that can utilize your teammates feeding to turn it into damage for her, and players really get trapped into targeting Orisa too much, who I'll also just put as another overrated character. Orisa is a character that top tier players do not rank highly whatsoever, and the reason is their targeting is much better. The thing you have to know about Orisa as a lower ranked player is that her goal is to soak up your cooldowns and ammo. The best thing she does is tank. So the worst thing you can do is put your best resources attempting to kill her, giving her exactly what she wants. She wants to eat up all your damage and get healed up afterwards. That's what she's designed to do. What she's not good at is repositioning very well. If D.Va has the ability to instantly turn and protect her backline, Orisa is a little bit slow getting there, okay? So target the enemy's squishies, the healers that can keep them alive, flank her hard, and also there's a few tank matchups she really struggles against anyway. But I suggest exploiting her by going aggressive on her squishies with a character that is better at it than she is. Further down the list of overrated characters, Kiriko is a very controversial pick right now. I've seen a lot of players think that she's instant meta and is going to be played in the Overwatch League, and I've seen other players say that she barely does anything. As I've talked about in my Kiriko meta video, I think if you have the defensive Kiriko playstyle, while it might be a bit forgiving because you have great escapes, it is statistically impossible to output the same amount of defensive value as other supports. Whether it's pressure on the front line with the Zenyatta Orb, overall healing and multitasking from the team as Baptiste, who of course can't reposition as well, but if you're not flanking anyway, then why are you picking Kiriko? And just in general, I think Kiriko's openings to make plays are so difficult that it sort of makes her not worth it a lot of the time. But this is something that I'm open to explore as time goes on, because I think if players learn what a pick needs to do and set it up more appropriately with a better team comp and synergy, then you can start to see these characters shine. It's just, I feel like I don't see a lot of players sync up with the Kiriko dives like I prescribe in my Kiriko meta video, and because of that, there's a lot of standoffish playing from range, and I just wonder, why aren't you like playing Ana or something? I think people forget just how much value all the other supports have anyway, right? I know we brought out one that has a bunch of flashy abilities, but supports are strong in Overwatch. They do a lot of things. Influence every area of the game, contribute to damage and the tank battle. They've got a lot of cards to play. So in order to be a competitive support, it takes quite a lot. And then last up for the video, I'm going to say the easier version of Kiriko, who can sync up with aggressive teammates to either heal them or spread damage orbs in the enemy's backline, is Moira. This is a character that I've seen a lot of players seem to main and get through the ranks. And I think the reason is because she's the type of character that if you have good Overwatch game sense and know your timings of when to go aggressive, Moira can rack up a lot of free limbs in team fights. And no judgment here, it's very similar to Reaper, a character I play all the time. So yes, cash in those free kills. I just think what players miss is that with a character like Moira, she feasts on enemies' mistakes. And while I do think she's a good pick for lower ranked players who want to cash in some reliable value, I think she's a bit of a noob trap. And you're selling yourself a bit short by not investing your playtime in a more high skill ceiling kit. Now, I suppose you could make that same argument for what I said about Soldier and Sojourn, but I just think the gaps between those examples I've listed are a bit uneven. The problem Moira tends to face is that once the enemy doesn't make the mistakes that allows her to clean up free limbs, the enemy supports might have much bigger playmaking opportunities, which is why I kind of just hope Moira gets reworked. Of course, they did toy around with giving her a cleanse. They eventually gave that to Kiriko instead. I hope Moira gets playmaking rather than raw, brawly stats that she can throw at squishies to eliminate them. Guys, that's everything for this Meta Misconceptions video. With the new patch expected to be coming around, we'll be taking a look at how the balance of the game changes things. For the most part, the patch that we saw looks like it affects the highest tiers. So I'm really doubting that any of the advice I'm giving you here today would affect the mass player base anyway. If you enjoy this kind of down-to-earth practical guide that's aimed at actually helping the average player rather than just telling you to do what GMs do, yeah, aim for the head, forehead. I'm sure that is working out great for you. Be sure to leave this video with a like, and don't forget to hit subscribe and click the bell icon to actually get notified when our videos come out. Be sure to check out today's video sponsor, HelloFresh, in the description. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.